In our quiet brick house on the outskirts of Colorado Springs, my mother vanished every single Thursday at exactly 2:00 p.m. for 20 straight years. No exceptions. Rain, blizzard, Christmas, it didn't matter. She would smooth her coat, kiss my forehead, and say the exact same words every time. Just taking care of some banking for our future, Alicia. Nothing for you to worry about. I'm Alicia Vaughn, 38. Now divorced 5 years ago, and I swallowed every word. Why wouldn't I? Mom had been the one holding everything together since Dad died of cancer 13 years earlier. Those Thursday disappearances were sacred. She'd be gone 3, sometimes 4 hours, come home looking exhausted, but always with that calm little smile, and no one was ever allowed to ask questions. After my marriage fell apart, I moved back to the same neighborhood to be closer, and the routine never changed. Until the Thursday that ended everything. I was at the office when the phone rang. It was Ben, my younger brother. His voice sounded wrong, hollow. Alicia, get to Memorial Hospital now. Mom collapsed at the bank. By the time I ran through the emergency room doors, she was already gone. Massive stroke. The doctor said it was instant. She probably never felt a thing. 3 days after we buried her, I stood alone in her bedroom staring at the old safe tucked behind her dresses. She had told me years ago the code was my birthday, because you're the one I trust most, Alicia. My fingers shook as I punched in the numbers. The door swung open. Inside lay a thick cream envelope with my name typed on the front, a small metal key taped to it, and one sheet of paper in Mom's handwriting. Only open this when I'm no longer here. Please don't hate me. I stood frozen, clutching that key, because right then I understood those 20 years of Thursday bank trips had never been about securing our future at all. If anyone in your family ever disappeared on the same day every week, or kept financial secrets that only came out after they were gone, drop your city and your story in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because what I found inside that safety deposit box destroyed everything I thought I knew about the woman who raised me. Keep watching. A plain white envelope with the Chase Bank logo showed up in the mailbox one morning while I was sorting through sympathy cards. No return address, just my name, typed neatly on the front, Alicia Vaughn. I tore it open right there on the porch. Inside was a short letter from the branch manager expressing condolences for Mom's passing and informing me that I was listed as the secondary holder on safety deposit box number 312. The annual fee had been paid through the end of the year, and I could access it any time with proper identification and the key. I stared at the letter for a long time. Mom had never mentioned a safety deposit box, not once in all those years. The key from the envelope in her bedroom safe fit perfectly in my mind now. I called the bank immediately. The woman on the line confirmed everything and asked when I'd like to come in. I told her tomorrow morning. That night, I barely slept. The house felt too quiet without Mom's television murmuring from the living room. I kept replaying her Thursday routine in my head, trying to connect it to this mysterious box. By morning, I was dressed in jeans and a simple sweater, nothing fancy, just clothes that felt like armor. The Chase branch sat on the corner of Nevada Avenue, about 15 minutes from the house. I parked, took a deep breath, and walked inside. The lobby smelled like polished wood and coffee. A manager named Mr. Harlan greeted me at the door, offered his sympathies again, and led me downstairs to the vault. The walls were lined with numbered metal doors. He inserted the bank's key into box 312 while I slid in the one from Mom's envelope. The long drawer pulled out with a soft metallic scrape. He left me alone in the small viewing room. I carried the box to the table and lifted the lid. My stomach dropped. Stacks of folders filled the space. I pulled out the first one, labeled Home Equity. Inside were loan documents, 3 separate home equity lines of credit taken out against the house over the past 12 years, each one refinancing the previous to pull out more cash. The signatures were Mom's, but the amounts made my hands shake. Combined, they totaled nearly $400,000, far more than the house was worth now. The next folder was worse. Stock brokerage statements dating back years, all in Mom's name only. Pages of purchases in companies I'd never heard of, followed by steep declines, margin calls, liquidation notices. The final balance showed less than $2,000 left after everything had been sold off to cover losses. I flipped through more. Credit reports pulled recently showing inquiries I didn't recognize. A folder marked investments held printouts of high-risk ventures, tech startups, penny stocks, even some cryptocurrency wallets that had crashed. Mom had been trying to chase bigger returns, probably to cover the growing debt from Dad's old mistakes, but every move seemed to sink her deeper. There was no joint account information, no retirement savings summary. Nothing that looked like the secure future she always talked about. Our family checking account statements were tucked at the bottom, balances that had dwindled to almost nothing over the last few years, as payments went out automatically to service all this hidden debt. I sat there for over an hour taking photographs of every page with my phone. My fingers felt numb. When I finally closed the box and walked out, Mr. Harlan asked if everything was all right. I managed a nod and thanked him. The drive home blurred past. Ben and Kayla were already at the house when I pulled into the driveway. They had decided to start sorting Mom's clothes and papers, talking about turning her bedroom into a guest room to preserve memories. Cardboard boxes lined the hallway. I set my purse down and spread the printed photos across the kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten thousands of meals together. "We need to talk," I said quietly. Kayla looked up first, curious. Ben glanced over from the living room doorway. I started laying out the pictures one by one, the refinance agreements, the brokerage losses, the empty account summaries. "This is what was in the safety deposit box Mom left for me," I explained, keeping my voice steady. "The house has been refinanced 3 times. There are hundreds of thousands in loans against it. The investments she made, everything is gone." Kayla's eyes widened as she picked up a photo of one of the loan documents. Ben stepped closer, scanning the images quickly. His face hardened. "This can't be right," he said immediately. "Mom would never do something like that without telling us." "She did," I replied, showing him the signature pages. "It's all in her name. She's been handling it alone for years." Ben shook his head, pushing the photos away. "You're reading this wrong, Alicia. Mom was careful with money. She always said she was building something for us." "That's what she told us," I said. "But look at the dates. This started right after Dad died, and it just kept growing." Kayla stayed silent, staring at the table. Ben crossed his arms. "You've always been different, Alicia. You moved away, got married, barely came around when Mom needed help. Maybe she had to work harder because you weren't here like the rest of us." The words hit like a slap. "This isn't about me being here or not," I said. "This is about the house possibly going into foreclosure if these loans aren't paid." Ben's voice rose. "You're jealous because Mom trusted me and Kayla more with the day-to-day stuff. Now she's gone and you show up with these papers trying to tear her down. Is that it? You want to prove she wasn't perfect?" "I'm not trying to prove anything," I answered, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. "I'm showing you what I found. We're all in this." Kayla finally spoke, her voice small. "Maybe there's an explanation. Mom wouldn't leave us with nothing." Ben nodded firmly. "Exactly. You're twisting this because you've always felt left out. Mom loved all of us, but you made your choices. Don't drag her name through the mud now that she can't defend herself." I gathered the photos back into a folder. The kitchen suddenly felt too small. "I'm not twisting anything," I said. "These are facts. We need to figure out what to do before the bank starts calling." Ben looked at me with cold eyes. "You've always been jealous of how close Mom and I were. Now she's barely in the ground and you're pulling out these things to get back at her, at us. Is that what this is really about?" I carried the entire metal box home from the bank and set it on the old oak dining table where the 3 of us used to sit while Mom told stories about Dad's better days. The same table that still had faint crayon marks from when Kayla was little. Ben and Kayla were already there arguing over which of Mom's sweaters to keep and which to donate. I didn't say anything at first. I just opened the lid again and took out the single sheet of cream paper tucked between two folders, the one in Mom's unmistakable handwriting. "Sit down," I said quietly. "There's something else." They exchanged glances but pulled out chairs. I smoothed the letter flat so they could see the date at the top, 3 months before she died, and began reading aloud. "To my children, especially Alicia. If you're reading this, I'm gone and you've seen what I tried so hard to keep hidden. When your father died 13 years ago, he left behind more than grief. He had borrowed against the house to chase stock tips he thought would make us rich. By the time the hospital bills came in, we were already underwater. I refinanced once to pay them off, then again to keep the lights on, then again when the market turned and everything he touched collapsed. Every Thursday for the last 20 years, I drove downtown to meet advisors, brokers, anyone who promised a way out. I thought if I could just get one good return, I could fix it all before any of you ever knew. I was wrong. The hole only grew. I'm so sorry. Alicia, I put your name on the box because you're the strongest of my children. You always have been, even when you felt like the odd one out. Please forgive me for what I've done. And please, whatever you do, protect Ben from the worst of it. He's sensitive. He won't survive knowing his mother failed so completely. He still sees me as the person who held everything together. Let him keep that. I love you all more than you'll ever know. Mom." My voice cracked on the last line. The kitchen went dead silent except for the clock ticking above the stove. Kayla's hand flew to her mouth. Tears spilled instantly, sliding down her cheeks onto the table. She stared at the letter like it might disappear if she blinked. Ben sat frozen, jaw-tight eyes locked on the paper. Then he shook his head hard once. "That's not real," he said, voice low and dangerous. "Mom wouldn't write something like that. Someone forged it." "Ben, it's her handwriting," I answered. "You know it is." He shoved his chair back so hard it scraped the floor. "You printed this yourself. You've hated how close Mom and I were your whole life. This is just another way to make her look bad." Kayla finally spoke through sobs. "Stop it, both of you. She was trying to protect us. That's what the letter says. She didn't want us to worry. Protect us." I repeated, feeling the anger rise. By lying for 20 years, by putting the house we grew up in at risk of foreclosure. Kayla wiped her face with her sleeve. She thought she could fix it. "Moms do that. They carry everything so we don't have to." Ben pointed at the letter still in my hand. "If she wanted to protect us, why single me out? Why say I'm too weak to handle the truth? That's not Mom. That's you putting words in her mouth." I felt the words like a punch. "She wrote it, Ben. Not me." He laughed, bitter and sharp. "Right. Because Mom spent years telling me I was the one she counted on most, the one who made her proud every day. And now suddenly, I'm the fragile one. Come on." Kayla reached across the table and touched his arm. She was scared, Ben. That's all. She didn't mean it like that. But Ben wasn't listening anymore. He stood up, towering over us. "You've always resented that Mom and I had something special. When you moved away after college, when you married Mark and barely visited, she leaned on me. And now you come back with this box full of shame and expect us to believe Mom thought I couldn't handle it." His voice kept climbing. "You're twisting everything. This letter, if it's even real, is just her being tired and sick. You're the one turning it into an attack." I tried to keep my voice level. "I'm not attacking anyone. I'm reading what she wrote." Kayla's crying had turned into quiet hiccups. She looked between us, eyes red. "Maybe we should just put this away for now. Mom wouldn't want us fighting like this." Ben snorted. "No, Kayla. Alicia wants a fight. She wants to be right. She always has." "That's not fair," I said, hearing my own voice shake. I'm the one who opened the box. I'm the one who has to figure out what happens when the bank decides they want their money. Kayla reached for the letter, fingers trembling. She says she loves us. That's what matters. Ben crossed his arms. Exactly. And love doesn't write notes calling your own son too weak for the truth. I felt the room spin a little. She was trying to shield you. From what he snapped. From knowing she made mistakes. We're not children anymore. Kayla looked at me, pleading. Even if Mom messed up, she did it for us. She didn't want us to hate her. Can't we just... Except that I stared at both of them, at the little brother who used to follow me everywhere, and the little sister who once copied everything I did and realized we weren't looking at the same letter at all. Kayla wiped her eyes again, voice barely above a whisper. No matter what she did wrong, she was still trying her best for us. You just want to prove you were right all along. Ben texted me on a Saturday morning, family meeting tonight at the house. 7 p.m. sharp. Be there. No, please, no explanation. Just an order. I knew what it was about. I pulled into the driveway just as the sun dipped behind Pikes Peak. The porch light was already on, same as it had been every evening Mom was alive. Kayla's SUV sat next to Ben's truck. I took a deep breath and walked inside. The living room smelled faintly of Mom's lavender candles. All the sympathy flowers had been cleared away, replaced by framed photos of her smiling with Ben at his college graduation, with Kayla at her wedding. None with me. Ben stood by the fireplace, arms crossed. Kayla sat on the couch, knees pulled up, clutching a throw pillow like a shield. They both looked up when I entered. Close the door, Ben said. I did. He didn't waste time. We've talked. Kayla and I agree. Mom's will is simple. Everything goes equally to the three of us. The house, the accounts, whatever's left. We're not changing that. I opened my mouth, but he kept going. We're also not letting you drag Mom's name through whatever story you're building. She's gone. She doesn't get to defend herself. So this ends tonight. Kayla finally spoke, voice soft but steady. You left Alicia. You moved hours away, married Mark, started your own life. Ben and I were the ones here every weekend, fixing the roof, mowing the lawn, taking Mom to appointments. We earn the right to decide how her memory is handled. I felt my chest tighten. This isn't about who did more chores. This is about hundreds of thousands in debt we didn't know existed. Ben stepped forward. According to who? You? The sister who shows up with a box full of papers nobody else ever saw. Mom trusted me with everything. She told me where the spare key was, where the good china was hidden, everything. She never once mentioned money problems. Because she was protecting you, I said, echoing the letter none of them wanted to believe. Exactly like she wrote. Kayla shook her head. Or maybe she knew you'd turn it into a weapon. Ben picked up a manila envelope from the coffee table and slid it toward me. Inside was Mom's last will, simple 2 pages, notarized 6 months ago. House and remaining assets to be divided equally among her 3 children. No mention of debt. No contingencies. This is what matters, he said. Not whatever story you cooked up from that box. I didn't cook anything up, I answered. The bank records are real. The refinance documents have her signature. You can hate me all you want, but ignoring this won't make it disappear. Kayla's eyes filled again. You always had to be the loud one, the one who questioned everything. Mom used to say you made things harder than they needed to be. The words stung more than I expected. I'm trying to keep us from losing the house. Ben laughed, cold and short. The house you barely visited for the last decade, spare us the hero act. I looked around the room, at the couch where Mom used to fall asleep watching Jeopardy, at the wall where our heights were marked every birthday until I stopped coming home regularly. Everything felt both familiar and foreign. What do you want from me? I asked quietly. Ben didn't hesitate. Leave the copies here. Delete the photos from your phone. Stop talking to lawyers, stop talking to anyone. We handle this as a family quietly the way Mom would have wanted. Or you walk away now, and we handle it without you." Kayla added almost pleading, "We just want to grieve in peace." I stared at them. My little brother who once cried when I left for college, my little sister who used to sneak into my bed during thunderstorms, and realized they had already chosen sides. And I wasn't on it. "You're asking me to pretend none of this exists," I said. Ben met my eyes without blinking. "I'm asking you to respect our mother." The silence stretched thick and painful. I reached into my bag, pulled out the flash drive with every scanned document, and set it on the table. Then I took my phone, opened the photo gallery in front of them, and deleted the albums one by one. The soft clicks sounded louder than gunfire. "There," I said. Happy Kayla looked relieved. Ben didn't. "That's a start," he replied. "Now go home, Alicia. And don't come back until you're ready to act like part of this family again." I walked to the hallway, picked up the small box I'd brought, just a few childhood books, and the framed photo of the four of us at Garden of the Gods when I was 16. Nothing else felt mine anymore. At the door, I turned. "If the bank calls you, don't say I didn't warn you." Ben stood up, walked over, and opened the door himself. The cold night air rushed in. "If you keep speaking ill of Mom," he said, voice low and hard, "then don't ever set foot in this house again. We don't need a sister like you." The door closed behind me with a final soft click. I stood on the porch for a long time, keys digging into my palm, before I walked to my car and drove away into the dark. I found Rebecca Sullivan's office on Tejon Street, a narrow brick building wedged between a coffee shop and an art gallery in downtown Colorado Springs. Her website said she specialized in estate disputes and identity theft recovery. I booked the first available slot and walked in carrying the metal box like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Rebecca was younger than I expected, maybe early 40s, sharp eyes behind rimless glasses. She listened without interrupting while I spread every document across her conference table: the 3 refinances, the brokerage disasters, Mom's letter, the credit reports I'd pulled myself. When I finished, she leaned back and exhaled. "This is parental financial abuse on a textbook level," she said flatly. "Colorado law treats identity theft the same, whether it's a stranger or a parent. If we can prove these signatures and applications happened without your knowledge, or Kayla's, the debts can be discharged as fraud and removed from your reports." She started digging deeper that same week, requesting full credit files under both our social security numbers with the proper authorizations I signed. 10 days later, she called me into the office again. "There's more," she said, sliding a thick printout across the desk. "Your mother opened 12 credit cards in Kayla's name starting 8 years ago. Total exposure $48,700. Some are store cards, some regular Visa and MasterCards. Minimum payments were made automatically from the joint checking account until it ran dry. Collection agencies have already started calling Kayla's cell." I stared at the list. Department stores, gas cards, even a jewelry account with a $10,000 balance. All Kayla's name, all her social security number, none of them anything she had ever mentioned. Rebecca continued. "Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act and Colorado's identity theft statute, Kayla can file an FTC affidavit and police report to have these removed. Same for the student loan refinance your mother took in your name when you were 18. But someone has to initiate it." That evening, Kayla showed up at my apartment unannounced. She stood in the hallway clutching her phone, eyes red and swollen. "The bank won't stop calling," she whispered. "They say I owe $48,000. Alicia, I've never even applied for half these cards." "What is this?" I let her in, sat her on the couch, and explained everything Rebecca had found. For the first time since the funeral, Kayla listened without defending Mom. She cried quietly while I showed her the statements. "I can help you file the fraud claims," I said. "Rebecca already has the forms. We do it together. We get this off your credit and we stop the collectors." She nodded, wiping her face. "Okay. I'll come to the office tomorrow." I felt something close to relief for the first time in weeks. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, Ben's name, and answered on speaker without thinking. Kayla told him everything in a shaky voice. I heard Ben's reply loud and clear. "She's lying to you, Kay. This is exactly what she wants to scare you into helping her take the house. Mom would never do that to you. Think about it. Alicia's the only one who benefits if we fight each other." Kayla's eyes flicked to me, uncertainty creeping back in. "Ben, these are real statements," she said. "Forged," he shot back. "Or taken out of context. You know how Alicia's always hated that Mom and I were close. She's doing this to punish us." The call lasted maybe 3 minutes, but it undid everything. When Kayla hung up, the fear in her eyes had turned cold. "You planned this," she accused. "You waited until they started calling me, then offered to save me so I'd be on your side against Ben." "That's not what happened," I said, struggling to keep my voice even. "These debts are real. They'll ruin your credit if we don't act." She stood up, grabbing her purse. "Ben says we should get our own lawyer. Someone who isn't trying to steal what Mom left us." "Kayla, please no." She cut me off already at the door. "You wanted me to see how bad Mom was. Well, congratulations. Now I see how far you'll go to win." The door slammed. I stood in the empty living room, the stack of fraud affidavit forms still on the coffee table. The next morning, I went back to Rebecca alone. File everything I told her. Identity theft claims for both me and Kayla, even if she won't sign. Petition the probate court to declare the fraudulent debts non-estate obligations and ask for a hearing on the house before foreclosure starts. I'm done waiting for them to wake up. Rebecca nodded, already pulling up forms. It'll force everyone into the open. Ben and Kayla will have to respond or default. You sure I thought of the house I grew up in, of Mom's handwriting begging me to protect Ben, of Kayla's face twisting from terror to hatred in the space of one phone call? I'm sure I said. She started typing the petition that afternoon. Later that night, Kayla's phone rang in her own apartment as another collector left a voicemail about a past-due jewelry account. She sat on her kitchen floor, phone in hand, pale as paper, and watched the screen light up again and again. She stared at Ben's last text, "Don't trust her. We'll fix this together." Then she looked at the caller ID, one more unknown number from a debt collector, and for the first time, doubt flickered across her face. But she didn't call me back. Instead, she forwarded the voicemail to Ben and typed, "What do we do now?" The El Paso County Combined Courts building sits on East Kiowa Street, less than 10 minutes from my apartment. I arrived early, dressed in the only navy suit I still owned from my old corporate days. Rebecca met me in the lobby, carrying a thick binder and a calm smile that did nothing to quiet the storm in my stomach. Inside courtroom 3, the air smelled of old wood and tension. Ben and Kayla sat at the opposite table with their attorney, a gray-haired man in an expensive suit who kept whispering to Ben. They never once looked my way. The judge, Honorable Margaret Chen, entered and called the case in re estate of Susan Vaughn, probate number 24 PR 30214. Rebecca began with a clear summary petition to declare certain debts fraudulent under CRS 61713 and to exclude them from estate liability, plus request for supervised administration due to conflicting claims on the residents. Their lawyer countered immediately, arguing that all debts were legitimate marital and parental obligations, that Mom had simply managed finances privately, and that I was an estranged daughter using the court to punish siblings who had remained close to the decedent. Then the witnesses started. Ben took the stand first. He wore the same dark suit from Mom's funeral, tie perfectly knotted. Under oath, he painted a picture I barely recognized. "Alicia moved away right after college," he said evenly. "She rarely visited. After her divorce 5 years ago, she became increasingly bitter. She's unstable, multiple jobs lost, isolated from family. These accusations only started after Mom died, and she realized there might not be as much money as she hoped. She's trying to destroy our mother's reputation to gain control of the house. Rebecca cross-examined gently but surgically. She showed him the credit card applications in Kayla's name bearing Mom's handwriting, the student loan refinance in my name from when I was 18. Ben dismissed them as mistakes or protective measures Mom took for us. Kayla followed. She looked smaller than I remembered, clutching a tissue. She testified that Mom had always been generous, that any secret accounts were probably meant as surprises, and that I was angry at the world since my marriage ended. When Rebecca asked if she had ever applied for the 12 credit cards totaling nearly $50,000, Kayla shook her head, tears falling. "I never saw those," she whispered. "But Mom wouldn't hurt me on purpose." Their attorney leaned heavily on Colorado's community property principles during marriage and the presumption that debts incurred during life benefit the family. He argued the house refinances paid household bills and medical expenses after Dad died. Rebecca countered with forensic accounting reports, handwriting analysis confirming Mom's signatures on fraudulent applications, and bank records showing proceeds funneled into personal brokerage accounts, not household use. She entered Mom's letter into evidence not for its truth about Ben's sensitivity, but as proof Mom knowingly concealed the activity. I never took the stand. Rebecca said my presence in the courtroom was enough. Anything I said would only give them more to twist. The gallery held maybe 10 people, mostly court staff, and a reporter from the Gazette. My siblings never looked at me. I sat behind Rebecca, hands folded in my lap, feeling the distance between us grow into miles with every word. Closing arguments were brief. Their lawyer asked the judge to uphold the will as written and dismiss my vindictive claims. Rebecca asked for simple justice, relieve innocent children from debts they never agreed to and never benefited from. Judge Chen took the bench again after a short recess. She adjusted her glasses and spoke in a measured tone that filled the room. "Having reviewed the exhibit's testimony and applicable law, this court finds clear and convincing evidence of identity theft with regard to credit accounts opened in the names of Alicia Vaughn and Kayla Vaughn, without their knowledge or consent. Those obligations are declared fraudulent and non-estate debts pursuant to Colorado revised statutes. The petitioners Alicia and Kayla Vaughn are relieved of personal liability." She paused. Ben shifted in his seat. Kayla gripped the table edge. However, the judge continued, "The 3 home equity lines of credit were executed solely by the decedent Susan Vaughn during her lifetime. While the court sympathizes with the children's position, Colorado law holds that validly executed liens against real property survive the borrower's death and must be satisfied from the estate. Accordingly, the residence at 1427 Pine Ridge Road shall be sold at public auction under supervised administration, proceeds to satisfy the valid secured debts, first with any remainder divided per the decedent's will." The gavel came down once, sharp, final. Rebecca turned and gave me the smallest nod. Victory on the fraud, but our house was gone. People started gathering files. Ben smoothed his jacket and walked past my table without stopping. As he passed behind me, he leaned in just enough for his whisper to reach only my ears. "No matter what that judge says, Mom was still the best mother in the world, and you will never understand that." He kept walking. Kayla followed, eyes fixed on the floor, never once glancing back. I sat there long after the courtroom emptied, staring at the spot where they had been feeling the final thread between us snap for good. The brick house sold at auction faster than anyone expected. A young couple from Denver snapped it up for just over the outstanding loan balance, excited about the quiet street and the mountain views from the back deck. I signed the closing papers in Rebecca's office on a gray morning pen, scratching across line after line until the deed no longer carried the Vaughn name. My share, after the valid liens were paid and probate fees deducted, came to $23,000, enough to clear the remaining collection agency penalties on the fraudulent accounts and put a small cushion in a new checking account. nothing more. I found a one-bedroom apartment in Rock Rimmon, north of the city near the Air Force Academy, with windows that faced the foothills. The moving truck held exactly 12 boxes, books, clothes, a few dishes, and the childhood photo I had rescued the night Ben shut the door on me. Everything else, the furniture Mom picked, the holiday decorations we hung together, went with the house or into Ben and Kayla's storage unit. The first night in the new place, I sat on the floor eating takeout Thai and listened to the unfamiliar quiet. No creaking stairs, no television from Mom's old room, no Ben laughing at some show in the basement. Just the hum of the refrigerator and distant highway noise. They never reached out. Not a text, not an email, not even a forwarded utility bill. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Ben and Kayla held a small memorial gathering on the first anniversary of Mom's death, catered sandwiches in the backyard of the house they no longer owned, toasts to the mother they insisted had only ever tried to protect them. My name never came up. The second year passed the same. I saw Kayla once at Garden of the Gods pushing a stroller with her toddler. Our eyes met across the parking lot. She turned away quickly, gripped the handle tighter, and walked faster toward the red rock formations. I stood by my car until she disappeared around the bend. Ben changed jobs, moved to a new firm downtown. His LinkedIn glowed with promotions and team photos. Kayla posted family pictures on social media, birthdays, vacations, always smiling, always just the two of them with their own growing families. If they ever spoke of me, no one told me about it. I paid bills on time, rebuilt my credit line by line, took a part-time job at the library on Academy Boulevard to keep busy. The apartment filled slowly, a second-hand couch, a small table plants on the windowsill that actually survived. I learned the new neighbors' names, joined a hiking group on Saturday mornings, let the silence become something I chose instead of something forced upon me. One afternoon, 3 years after the gavel fell, the mail carrier left a single envelope in my box. No return address, just my name in Kayla's careful handwriting, the same script that used to leave notes on my bedroom door when we were kids. I carried it inside and opened it with a butter knife. A plain white card, one sentence in black ink. Don't ever contact us again. To us, you ceased to exist the day Mom left. Nothing else. No signature, no explanation. I set the card on the counter and stared at it for a long time. Then I opened a drawer, slipped it between utility bills and takeout menus, and closed the drawer. That night, I cooked dinner for one, poured a glass of wine, and raised it to the empty chair across the table. To final answers, I said out loud. The years kept turning. Ben and Kayla built lives that looked perfect from the outside. I built one that was quiet, honest, and entirely mine, and not one of us ever looked back. 3 years after the gavel fell on a quiet Thursday afternoon, I found myself driving south on Nevada Avenue without planning it. The old Chase branch appeared on my right, exactly where it had always been. I pulled into the parking lot, turned off the engine, and sat for a moment watching customers come and go through the glass doors. Something pulled me inside. The lobby looked smaller than I remembered. A young teller greeted me with the standard smile. I asked to open a new savings account, high-yield individual ownership only. No joint holders, no beneficiaries, no authorized users. She walked me through the forms, asked for 2 forms of ID, and typed everything into the system. 10 minutes later, she slid a crisp folder across the counter. New account number, new debit card on the way, new beginning. I signed Alicia Vaughn in bold, steady letters. When she asked if I wanted to make an initial deposit, I transferred $25,000 from the account I had quietly built since the probate check cleared. Money earned from the library job, from freelance editing gigs, from every overtime hour I could pick up. Money that belonged to no one but me. The teller handed me the receipt. Anything else I can help with today, Ms. Vaughn? That's all I said. Thank you. I walked out into the late afternoon sun feeling lighter than I had in years, On the drive north, I took the long way past the exit for Pine Ridge Road, where the brick house used to stand. A new family lived there now. I had seen their Christmas lights last December. I didn't slow down. At home, I poured a glass of water, no wine tonight, and stood at the window watching the sun sink behind the front range. The apartment was small, but every inch was mine. Bookshelves I built myself, plants that thrived because no one else decided when they got watered, a calendar with only my plans on it. I thought about the envelope that started everything, the key, the letter, the courtroom, the slammed doors, the single hateful card from Kayla. I thought about Mom's Thursday disappearances and how they had shaped an entire lifetime of secrets. And for the first time, none of it hurt. Cutting them out wasn't punishment, it was surgery. Clean, necessary, and final. Blood doesn't always mean family, and love isn't a contract that forces you to swallow poison forever. I set boundaries not because I stopped loving them, but because I finally started loving myself more. If you're watching this and you recognize the pattern, if someone in your life disappears every week to handle things, if accounts show up in your name you never opened, if speaking the truth gets you called selfish or unstable, listen carefully. Trust the documents, not the stories people tell to keep you quiet. Ask for statements. Pull your own credit report. Talk to a lawyer before you're the one left holding the wreckage. Family is supposed to protect you, not bankrupt you and then blame you for noticing. Some ties are chains disguised as love. Cutting them doesn't make you the villain, it makes you free. I finished the water, rinsed the glass, and placed it in the drying rack. Outside, the Thursday sky turned deep orange over the mountains. I smiled, locked the door behind me, and stepped into the evening, no longer waiting for anyone to come home. Because the only future I'm securing now is mine.